So as you can see, we've moved on quite a little bit here. We've got the wash off, and then what we've done, as you can see, we've gone over and given it a flat coat right the way over everything. To be honest, we just went over it with the polyurethane matte finish. Okay, and then on the underside, as you can see, by taking off the weathering, we've left in quite a little bit, you know, around different areas to just give it different textures. This little flap area's got a little bit more than the other one, but I think it's all these things that sort of make it work and come together. Now, as you can probably see as well, we've unmasked the actual glass area on this one. So as you can see, again, nice clear glazing all the way through. Usual thing, you get little bits of overspray get under it. What you can actually do, come along with a cocktail stick, you literally just place it in and you can scratch clean it all the way through. That's the beauty of using an acrylic paint versus, you know, an enamel, which will technically eat into the surface. The other thing as well, you can probably see we've painted the actual exhausts. To be honest, that is just Tamiya's, whichever we've done with it, XF84. This is their dark iron colour. Absolutely great for this, because what we can actually do is weather those in a little bit more with other things. So generally going around, we've had no problem with it, especially under here. When we were actually putting in the glazing in, we were worried about obviously using the glue being a little bit close, things like that. As you can see all over it, we've had no issues whatsoever. So that's worked really, really well. Now, next up is the actual undercarriage going in so we can get this thing off the ground. As you can see, I've already put one in. To be honest, that was more for my sanity than anything else, because it's not exactly straightforward how it goes in. So actually what you've got, you've got these parts down here, these metal plates, which are numbers 109 and 110. You've got 108 and 107, which is for the other side. So what we're going to do now is just nip these out and put them in. Now, this undercarriage, as we've said all the way through, is not the most easiest way, because you can't do it as part of the instructions say. What you actually have is a situation of this back part here. It simply says pull apart once it's installed, and then this part will come in. To be honest, it is a massively tight fit. The other thing as well is you glue these two hubs together, and then what it does, it freewheels on this. So it's not like having a pin going through and it all spins, because you actually have to have it the right way up in this to put it in. But as you can see, when you try and put this in, this is never going to bend to get in, because unfortunately what you have is this bar at the top, it just won't allow it. So what I've done is you just cut one end off, then it gives you the little bit of a bend just to have it out of the way. Then you can actually bend this together to actually get this all on. So actually once it's in there now, as you can see, it pushes through and you can actually get in there. All right, so what you can do is pop this down, and you should, as I say, it's directional to which way. You get one half in now, and you can bend this one over to get it in. But if you didn't, what happens is this will not allow it to spread. Okay, so what you can do is pop it in, it pushes in, but it's freewheeling on the hub. We've scratched it a little bit on the tyre there to get that in. And then what you could obviously do is then come along and glue this guy back in at the top, and that will allow your undercarriage to go back together. So what we can do, we can just come along, a little bit of glue, weld action, and that will take care of it. Now what happens is, gets a little bit tight and confusing down in here. If we just take this spinner off, what you've actually got is these little locating tabby areas down here. The easiest way I found to do it is if you actually take a tiny little bit of super glue, okay, and we're just going to put a little dot at the back of each side, just so this grips. And then what happens is the longer arm goes to the outside. Okay, so we're just going to hold it there, just like that. The other one's got a little bit too much on, but we should be okay. Alright, so this pushes in just like that. Okay, so you've got both of them roughly in position. And then what you can do is stand this down on its nose, we've got it off, and then you've got these down the back here. So what we're going to do is just going to put a drop of super glue just down in each side, and this is what's going to take all the weight, because it's going to lean totally on the front. So the other half of the hook here, it literally just hooks over and then down and in. Now these rear ones just roughly press into position. Hold on, let's just stick that one in. They've both popped off, but don't worry about that for a minute. We can literally just hook that in, and then what we can do is this one here, what we do, we're just going to grab him, take him out of the way. Okay, it's just a little bit fiddly to get back in here afterwards, but if you can seat it in there just like that, and then we can place it round. You can see it's a real handful to get this in. To be honest, the other side went in a lot easier. Okay, so what we're going to do, just going to come in with extra thin, somewhat flood the area. Okay, and we're just going to try and pull this guy back in. Okay, that's getting that now. So what we're going to do, plenty of glue. As you can see, it's just a bit of a handful to get all this down then in. Okay, that's going off now. This guy. This one here just needs to pop on. Here's what we mean by it's a bit of a handful. Okay. What you can actually do, you've got the rear feet because it's trying to pull forward. Technically, it's got a little bit too much super glue. Instead of tacking roughly into position, you've actually got some holes here at the back. These are just going to fit in. 1 and 2. Just like so. We can get these in. Let's get it just into position. Okay, then we can just get this other guy back again. What we're going to do is just place a little bit of super glue just down in there like that. Bit of a nudge to get that down, bit of a nudge, and then this bar that runs across these two here at the back, hopefully will catch it and lock it all into position. As you can see, to be honest, the other side went in really well. This one is being a complete handful. That's it, we got it. Okay, that's in. So now we're just going to come in with our thin glue and just touch and flow all around the outside, just to let the capillary action flow around, just to take all of that in. Absolutely everywhere. Okay, happy with how all that is, so we're just going to give it a nudge, just to making sure it's secure. Okay, and that's got it. So we're just going to drop this one down the back, pop that one down in here, and again more glue just down on this back section. Okay, so that should, once it's in and locked, hold the weight. It's actually got the weight on the front and rears. So what it is now, it's just actually the midsection just needs to push down and lock in. So again, we're just going to come in a little bit of glue. We're just going to use a bit of kicker just to lock this one. Kicker goes in, then we're just going to push it down Okay. Let's say strange because the other side went in perfectly well. This one is going to fight us a little bit. As I say, it's just a little bit complicated the way it all drops in and goes in, but it needs to be like that to get the geometry correct for the actual wheels to line up to fit. Okay, so once we're on, in theory, she should come down and sit down onto a gear just like that, which gets her off the floor. We're going to go around everywhere and then take care of it. Going to add a little bit more of the actual liquid cement absolutely everywhere just to weld it up. But remember, capillary action only, touch it, let it flow around and weld it all in just like that. So there we go, that's it onto its gear. The doors themselves, so we've got the larger door to the outside versus the newer side. The inside, that's what we're going to do. Just going to grab a bit of tape just to act. Okay, just a little bit of glue. And then what we're going to do, just going to grab door edges, we're just going to touch. Okay, and then we just can come in and seat these in. Okay, you've got activators for these as well, but actual doors themselves, we just want to hinge them in just a little bit, facing inward. And again, we can go around with glue, weld action, touch and flow, it all in place. So we can just do the inner one as well. Okay, same again. So we're just going to let it start to bite and grab just in there. Again, if you want to use kicker, you can just kick it in. So that's both of those in. So then we can poke him on into his gear, down like that. The spinner's pretty straightforward. As I say, painted red, black, dry brushed it, tiny little bit of grey just to give it a little bit of weathering. Okay, and then all we're going to do is come in and we're going to just get this out of the way, touch him on. Okay, flat red Tamiya XF7 on that one, just all the way over it. And we're just going to take a little bit of glue. Again, we're not brushing it, we're just touching and flow and let the capillary action do all the work. Okay, and then once they're on, they're straightforward push fit onto the engines. Just like that one, and we can do the other one. And there we go, as simple as that. So there we go, looking really much the part now, really coming to life as you can see. What we're going to do, let that undercarriage totally dry, put the door activators on, we can go around and start to put the other parts in. So we've got things we've really painted and taken care of the upper turret, so we've got to do the area for that, then we can install all the guns, all the final bits, then we can go along with some final weathering with exhaust smoking, things like that. Okay, really pushing on with this one now. So we're into this situation of really sort of putting all the little bits and pieces in. I've gone around, done a little bit more touch-up work just around the framing. There's a few little holes, things like that. I've used neat paint, just topped it in the little holes. So anywhere you've got little gaps around the front here, things like that, you can easily just go in, a couple of little drops and take care of it. Don't worry about the change of colour as well. I quite like it because it gives that effect that technically it's had a touch in or something else, and it's in those areas that it would actually get it. So what we need to do now is a lot of the glazing work. So one of the things we spoke about early on was this section underneath here. Now you might be able to see you've got a little bit of white down here. This is because I've actually already done those bits a few moments ago for filling in windows. Now, really simple technique, this one, and it's pretty much never failed me yet. It gives a very clear look. All you do, you have your cocktail stick, but what you want to put, it's a good generous dollop on the end. Okay, not tons and tons, but something like that. All right, so you've got a good dollop on there. Then all you do, as I say, a little bit awkward holding this in all the angles. So literally all you're going to do, you're just going to come along like this, let it run slightly down to the end, and then all we're going to do, and as I'm doing this as an off angle, you just simply go and cover in everywhere, like so. All right, and that is it. It's literally just as simple as that. Okay, so when you look at it, get a closer angle, you can see that it's just like that. So you can see you've got a little bit of white on this guy down the bottom here as it's drying. These guys I did about an hour ago, okay, on this side, and these are all glazed over, no problem at all. Absolutely perfect. And as you can see from the underside, all the glazing looks pretty much spot on. Not a lot of difference between the two, and did save a lot of messing around of actually getting them in there. Now, one little area we did have a small problem with, okay, was this window up here. Okay, so it's had one coat. What I'm going to do is let it totally dry, then give it a second, and I'm going to backfill that entire glass and do it that way. You can overlap it one over the other. It will melt into itself and then it will go clear. But obviously we need a protective one in there. The one I'm going to do tonight, to be honest, overnight, I'm going to put it at an angle like this so it's level, and then I'm going to fill it out with PVA glue and let that completely dry off overnight, and then it'll seal that glazing in and have no problem at all. If you use a good thing like crystal clear, to be honest, I like to use, you shouldn't have any problem with yellowing in the future and all things like that. The other thing we've done is we've weathered in the props. Now the props themselves were just not exactly brilliant. They were a little bit too clean and everything else for the actual aircraft. So what we've done is we've just dry brushed them just to give them a little bit more of a textured type of look to it. So we've gone along and done those. We've also put on all the control surfaces. So we've got this one at the back. We've got the actual for the little trim tabs at the rear, and for the trim tabs on the wings. We've gone along and we've put those activators on there as well. As you can see now, underneath the gear doors are fixed in place and everything else like that, so that's gone on there really, really nicely. And we've generally just gone along and had a look at it and touched up a few little items. The other thing we're doing at the moment is just putting the guns together. So to be honest, all we've used is the metallizer paints, and because we've used the metallizer paints, where's my brush I used for the metallizer paints? Okay, there it is. What you can actually do then is just pop along and dry brush them up to give a more metal look. Now I use the dark iron, okay, so if you just give it a light rub, just like that, we end up with them looking pretty much good. Okay, so then what you can do, you can come along like we've got here. This is our rear gunner's position. Okay, and then it's a little bit dusty on the inside. So what I'm going to do is just going to grab a cotton bud, dry first, just to scrape away any dust that it's caught. Okay, and then what we're going to do is just using a tiny bit of this glue just to hold it in place, and then the port is from the downside, I do believe. So what we're going to do is push it in, okay, and have the gun in there just like that. Alright, so we can just let that dry for a few moments. Alright, so what I'm going to do, just going to pop a spring-loaded clamp onto it just to hold it in that position. We've got to do one for the nose as well, so we can do exactly the same situation with this one. Okay, again, bit of glue on the end. This one I'm going to leave quite black on the front. Okay, and again we'll just like that. The PVA glue on the front you can actually just wipe away like that, and then obviously you can touch in the front bits if needed to afterwards. Alright, so that's those ones on. So again we can just let that one sit in there just to dry off just like that, and then obviously you've got another one for at the top here is going to fit on the top part, which we've put on. So you could use normal glue for this, or you could use a PVA if you wanted to. Okay, so we're just going to grab this guy. We're going to come over. For this one, we're just going to use a normal glue. Okay, so we're just going to put it over there. I'm just going to let it soak in a bit just to start to work. So if you put this down when it's really wet, all it's going to do is fall off. Okay, so we just stick that down there just for a minute like that, and then we're just going to come in. Right, and that's Guy on there just like that. So really cracking on with it now. So as you said, been around, touched in this cockpit area, really happy. So now the top glazing can go on. We had a bit of trouble with the seat in there, so quite frankly we've moved that. Now I'm going to have this in the closed position for now. all right, but obviously you can have it in the open position, and because I've just got a little bit of tack on there, we can maneuver it open or closed exactly how we want it to go. Okay, right the way through. But as you can see, we're looking pretty good. A couple of bits we've got to take care of now. We've just got to put the light on. We've also got the pitot tube, okay, for the wing, but again, it's going to get knocked off, so it's going to be one of the last things to go on there. Another little area we can take care of now is the tail wheel. So actually we can probably use a little bit of PVA glue for this. It's a nice job. Now the tail wheel I've reinforced with a little bit of weld action glue, as we said, just down in here, purely because it's not exactly brilliant. Now this is going to be a bit clean to start with. You'll probably be able to see it's a good example of the colours, okay, but you can see it's nice and clean compared to how the rest of it is. All right, so what we're going to have to do is weather that in. Very simple job. We're just going to do it with a little bit of wash over the top as it goes in there, just like that. So what we're going to do is, very carefully, we're just going to let that dry just for a few moments, and then we can go around and have a look at it. We get these other bits installed, okay, and as you can still see under here, this window is going nice and clear and everything else, so we have no problem with those. The other ones are going nice and clear as well. We can get the Bombay doors on there, okay, and we can start adding all the last touches to this one for the final reveal. Okay, just a quick update. As you can see, I've just blocked in this one here. You can see we've got the bottom one under here still going off. So what I'm doing, I'm just keeping this level. I don't know how well you can see it. It's got a bulge to it. We want that bulge, okay, because the thing is this will shrink back. So what I'm doing at the moment is literally just holding it for around about 15 minutes at this angle so it goes off. Then what I'm going to do, to be honest, get some pillows and various things, throw a nice soft cushion for it, and then it can sit drying overnight. But this is one of those things, this is the third coat it's had now, okay, and we know it's going to shrink back and it's going to go inward. So by giving it the sort of too much, it should lay down pretty flat and everything else in there. So all we got to do now is basically keep an eye on this, make sure it doesn't run. But if you were to lay it down flat, it's all just going to pour out the side and it's going to run down. You come around in the morning to find out it's all over the place. But there we go. So we're just going to keep an eye on that one. And as soon as that's dry, we can actually work our way on the exhaust stains, get those put in, ready for the final reveal.